So, looking for ideas for gifts? This is one of the largest boxes I've done so far this year. And I'm just going to try and get through these. There's a lot of them. Welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina Tina. This is where I read books, talk about books, no special effects, no theme music, none of that fancy stuff going on here. What you see is what you get. There's no editing. That's just it. What you see is what you get. So, I've got this huge box of books. Like I've said previously, I don't know what's in it till I open it up. But it's a big box this week, and I'm going to go through it with you and see what's in it, and see if we like anything, see if we don't like anything. So, shall we get to it? John Birmingham, Angels of Vengeance. When an inexplicable wave of energy slammed into North America, millions died. In the rest of the world, wars erupted, borders vanished, and the most powerful lost their grip on power. Against this backdrop, with a conflict U.S. president struggling to make momentous decisions in Seattle and a madman fomenting rebellion in Texas, three women are fighting their own battles to survive, justice, and revenge. Special Agent Caitlin Monroe moves stealthily through a South American jungle. Her target, a former French official now held prisoner by a ruthless despot. To free the prisoner, Caitlin will kill anyone who gets in her way, and then she will get the truth about how a master terrorist escaped a secret detention center in French Guadeloupe to strike a fatal blow to New York City. Vince Flynn, The Last Man. Joe Rickman, head of CIA clandestine operations in Afghanistan, has been kidnapped and his 4 bodyguards executed in cold blood. But Mitch's rap experience and nose for truth make him wonder if something even more sinister isn't afoot. Irene Kennedy, director of CIA, has dispatched him to Afghanistan to find Rickman at all costs. Rap, however, isn't the only one looking for Rickman. The FBI's too, and it quickly becomes apparent that they're less concerned with finding Rickman than placing the blame on Rap. What year? 2012. Stephen White, The Siege. As a lovely weekend approaches on the Yale campus, it appears that a number of students, including the sons of both the Secretary of the Army and the newest Supreme Court Justice, may have gone missing. Kidnapping, terrorism, the authorities aren't sure, but the high-profile disappearances draw attention of the CIA and the FBI's vaunted hostage rescue team. Attention quickly focuses on the fortress-like tomb of one of the Yale's oldest secret societies. Jeffrey Deaver, Edge. Shockwaves of alarm ripple through the clandestine agency when Washington, D.C. police detective Ryan Kessler inexplicably becomes the target of Henry Loving, a seasoned, ruthless lifter hired to obtain information whatever means necessary. While Loving is deaf to torture, his expertise lies in getting an edge on his victim. Leverage, usually by kidnapping or threatening a family member until the principal caves under pressure. The job of keeping the Kessler family alive falls to a man named Corte, a senior federal protection officer known as a shepherd, uncompromising, relentless, devoted to protecting those in his care, and a passionate board game aficionado. He applies brilliant gaming strategy to his work. But Corte, the reappearance of Loving, the man who 6 years earlier had tortured and killed someone close to him, is also an opportunity to avenge his friend's death. The Curse Maker Mystery, Kelly Stanley. The Curse Maker is a sequel to the award-winning Nox Dominita, the first book of the Roman Norse series created by Kelly Stanley. Wedding implicably research history to prose and themes reminiscent of classic hard-boiled writers. The Curse Maker is a thrilling and suspenseful journey into a dark corner of Roman Britain you've never seen before. Let's see. 2011. Yes, ma'am. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come on. Okay. You gonna hang out for a while? The neighbor favor. Shy, bookish, and admittedly awkward, Lily Green has always felt inadequate compared to the rest of her accomplished family, who strive for black excellence. She dreams of becoming a children's book editor, but she's been frustrating stuck in nonfiction division for years without a promotion in sight. Lily finds escapism in her correspondence with her two favorite fantasy authors, and what begins as two lonely people connecting over email turns into a tentative friendship and possibly something else Willie won't let herself entertain until he ghosts her without a word. Wonder what's going on there. The Book of Murdoch. Page Murdoch has been many things in his day: a cowhand, a saloon keeper, a Comanche slave, and lately a deputy U.S. Marshal. But the one thing the mean faced, middle aged gunman has never expected to be was a man of the cloth. Funny how things work out. Posing as Brother Bernard Sebastian of the Church of Evangelist Truth, Murdoch dons a clerical collar to worm his way into the good graces and confidence of the weary residents of Owen, Texas. Seems a gang of ruthless bandits is terrorizing the Texas Panhandle, and all evidence points to the dusty cattle town as their base of operations. Murdoch aims to unmask the gang, provided he can pass himself off as a preacher long enough to stay alive. The Dove of Death, Peter Tremaine. In 670, an Irish merchant ship is attacked near Breton Coaster by pirates. The ship's captain and prince from the Irish kingdom of Moomin are both killed in cold blood, but after they have surrendered. Among the passengers who managed to escape the slaughter with their lives are Fidelman of Cashel and her companion, brother Edolf. Once safely ashore, Fidelman's sister to the king of Moomin, an advocate for the Brennan law courts, is determined to bring the killers to justice out of loyalty to her murdered cousin and because her training demands it. However, the only clue to the killer's identity is the symbol of the dove. See what happens there. Danger in the wind. It's a fine summer in 100 AD, and a good government under Trajan Caesar promises well for the Roman settlers in the frontier province of Britannia. Uriel runs an inn on the busy road to York. June is always busy, but one day two unusual events occur. A soldier is murdered in his bed at the inn, and a letter arrives for Isum, a small fort north of the city. Cousin Jovina wants Uriel to attend a midsummer birthday party, but the missive also reads as a plea for help, referring to danger in the wind. Likewise, the murdered soldier also a message locked in Uriel's strongbox indicating violence would erupt at the very same port on the same day. Interesting. See, 2011. Oops. Iona Sanctum, Gary Corby. Athens, 460 BC. Life's tough for Nicholas, the only investigating agent in ancient Athens. His girlfriend left him and his boss wants to fire him, but when Athena official and murdered, the brilliant statesman Pericles has no choice but to put Nico on the job. The case also takes Nico in the company of a beautiful slave girl to the land of Iona within the Persian Empire. The Persians will execute him on the spot if they think he's a spy. But beyond that, there are a few minor problems. He's also being chased by brigands who are only waiting for their right price before they kill him. See. 2011. I wish I had these for Flashback Monday. Oh, good God. Haven't seen him in a while. Sidney Sheldon. The best laid plans. Its simple, optimistic statement without the slightest portent of the dramatic chain of events that are about to occur. The Best Laid Plans tells the explosive story of the beautiful and ambitious Leslie Stewart, who learns that for some men power is the greatest aphrodisiac, and of Olivia Russell, the handsome governor of a small southern state who finds out why hell has no fury like a woman scorned. Yep. Lisa Lutz. Trail of the Spellmans. For the first time, in Spellman history, Isabel Spellman, PI, might be the most normal member of her family. Mom has taken on an outrageous assortment of extracurricular activities with no apparent motive. Dad has a secret. Izzy's brother and sister are at war for no apparent reason, and her niece keeps saying banana, even though she hates bananas. 2012. Ah, who stole the American dream? Uh, no comment. Pulitzer Prize winner Hedrick Smith provides an eye-opening account of how, over the past 4 decades, a series of seismic changes dismantled the American dream. This book is full of surprises and revelations, the major policy changes that began under Jimmy Carter, the beginning of the 401k plan, the disastrous economic consequences for many, how the new economy erupted the virtuous cycle, America's engine of shared prosperity, and how America lost the title of the land of opportunity. Um, could he go back and write this book today? Uh, I think there are a lot of changes. 2012. Yeah, it's a little on the old side. Hero at Home. LEK. Brand new. Brand new. And it's got a card in it. As American continues to fight terrorism, all of us here on the home front owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to every military family, the men and women in uniform, and the loved ones who support him. Yepper. City of Dragons, Kelly Stanley. Miranda Corby City and San Francisco, 1940. It's Miranda Corby City. She'll die to protect the good in it because part of her died a long time ago. Miranda Corby, 33-year-old private investigator, Spanish Civil War nurse, and escort, waits patiently in a Chinatown crowd. Fireworks explode as the city celebrates Chinese New Year with a rice ball party, a 3-day and night carnival designed to raise money for China's war relief. Then Eddie stumbles fatally shot into Sacramento Street and Miranda's world turns upside down. 2010. The Perfect Storm, Sebastian Younger. It was the storm of the century, boasting waves over 100 feet and a tempest created by so rare a combination of factors that meteorologists deemed it the perfect storm, which struck in October 1991. Bret Easton Ellis. Bret Easton Ellis' Less Than Zero is one of the signal novels of the last 30 years, and now he follows those infamous teenagers into an ever more desperate middle age. Clay, a successful screenwriter, has returned from New York to Los Angeles to help cast his new movie, and he's soon drifting through a long familiar circle. Blair, his former girlfriend, is married to Trent, an influential manager who's still a bisexual philanderer, and their Beverly Hills parties attract various levels of fame fortune. I am not Jackson Pollock. Okay. A circus elephant named Topsy was executed at Coney Island in 1903 for killing a man. That's part of history. The Houghton Venus was exhibited in Paris in the first half of 19th century because she was considered an oddity. That's history. Okay. Ah, this is cute. Operation Do-Over. Mason and Ty were once very best friends, like two nerdy sides of the same coin, until 7th grade when Ava Perkins came along. Now Mason can trace everything bad in his life to that terrible fight they had over the new girl. Wouldn't you like to go back and do things over? The Further Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. When anarchists attack a painting of the Prime Minister and suggest the man himself could be next, Scotland Yard has no choice but to call in Sherlock Holmes. The regional office is under attack. One organization, the regional office, and its courtier of superpower females assassins protect the globe from annihilation. As its helm, the mysterious M.I.A and her crew of soothsaying oracles seek out new recruits and root out evil plots, guided by the office director, Mr. Niles. Then a prophecy from the oracle suggests that someone from inside might bring about its own downfall. That's a little deja vu. A Ronin Raven mystery, a class on murder. K.B. Gibson. Ronnie Raven is smart, funny, and she might be next on the killer's list. As half Cherokee, half Irish daughter of a noted Indian artist, Ronnie grew up learning to speak her mind. After years of trying to find her place in the world, she settled in as behavioral psychologist professor at Oklahoma Alameda Pursley University. She enjoys teaching until she stumbles across the body of a dead colleague. Cute. Thicker than water. James Markham's family are shocked when he jilts his fiancée for a woman he met only days earlier, about whom he appears to know very little. When they meet Abigail, they are swayed by her beauty and her charm, but puzzled by the aura of mystery that surrounds her and reluctant to answer questions about her past. Jodi Picoult, Keeping Faith. One of America's most powerful and thought-provoking novelists, Jodi, when the marriage of Maria White and her cheating husband Colin turns ugly and disintegrates, their 7-year-old daughter Faith is there to witness it all. In the aftermath of a rapid divorce, Maria falls into a deep depression, and suddenly Faith, a child with no religious background whatsoever, hears divine voices, start reciting biblical passages, and develops a stigmata. Here, right matters, an American story. Vices. 41 Oliver Weiss, 41, prominent philosopher and scholar and art collector, is missing and presumed dead over the side of the Queen Mary 2. Swift Run. Laura de Silva. Rio. With Charlie convalescing with a gunshot wound, Gigi is temporarily running swift investigations when Heather Ann Pawlowski, the tramp who ran over Gigi's husband Les, saunters into the office. Heather Ann wants to hire the firm to find Les, missing from their love nest in Costa Rica. Gigi tells her to amscrape, but the law of a paying client is too much, and Les is the father of her children, so she accepts the case against Charlie's advice. There are so many books here. Cain's Blood, Jaffe Gerard. The DNA of the world's most notorious serial killers has been cloned by the U.S. Department of Defense to develop a new breed of bioweapon. Now in Phase 3, the program includes dozens of young men who have no clue as to the evil heritage, playing a twisted game of nature versus nurture. Scientists raise some of the clones with loving families and others in abusive circumstances, but everything changes when the most dangerous boys are set free by their creator. Yeah. Timepiece, Richard Paul Evans. 19 years previous, only 11 days before her death, Mary Ann Parkin bequeathed a beautiful rose gold timepiece to my keeping. The day before you give Jenna away, she said, her voice tempering, she handed me the heirloom. Give this to her for the gift. Okay. Anthem for the Doomed Youth, Carolyn Dunn. In the spring of 1926, the corpses of 3 men are found in shallow graves off the beaten path in Epping Forest outside of London. Each one was shot through the heart. None of the bodies have any identification on them. Called in to lead the investigation, DCI Alec Fletcher of Scotland Yard is under urgent orders from his supervisor at the yard to accomplish 2 things. He'd like to solve the murders quickly, and he's to keep his wife, the Honorable Daisy Dalrymple Fletcher, away from the case. Good luck with that one. J.M. Quizzetti, Disgrace. At 52, Professor David Laurie is divorced, filled with desire but lacking in passion. When an affair with a student leaves him jobless, shunned by friends, and ridiculed by his ex-wife, he retreats to his daughter Lucy's small holding. David's visit becomes an extended stay as he attempts to find meaning in the one remaining relationship he has. The Hummingbird's Cage. Everyone in Wheeler, New Mexico thinks Joanna leads the perfect life, the quiet, contented housewife of a dashing deputy sheriff, raising a beautiful young daughter, Laurel. But Joanna's reality is nothing like her facade. Behind closed doors, she lives in constant fear of her husband. She's been trapped so long, seems escapable, until a stranger offers her help and the help she needs to flee. He's alive! Boris Karloff's iconic portrayal of Frankenstein monster is edibly etched in the history, but Boris wasn't the first choice for the role. Bela Lugosi, who chose Rose to star with Count Dracula, was taped first. Didn't know that. Susanna Rogers, Cooper, Full Circle. In Romance to Death, we were introduced to E.J. Pugh, romance novelist and sometimes sleuth, and her children, now all teenagers, are getting into much, if not more, the trouble than their mother. Everyone is stalking 14-year-old Elizabeth and wreaking all kinds of havoc. The Pugh clan rallies around Elizabeth to keep her safe, but Elizabeth has her own problems. The angst of a regular 14-year-old child is multiplied tenfold with the loss of her entire birth family. Oh, good God. We're just going to go through these even quite quicker. Well, this is a classic. The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Jewel, Brett Lott. In the backwoods of Mississippi, a land of honeysuckle and grapevine, Jewel and her husband Leston are truly blessed. They have 5 children. When Brenda Kay is born in 1943, Jewel gives thanks for the healthy baby last born and welcome. Jewel is the story of how life can change quickly, how lightning, unforeseen event can set us on a course without reason or compass. A separate piece. Paranormal Session, America's Fascination with Ghosts. The Seven Daughters of Eve. In 1994, Professor Wayne Sykes, a leading authority on DNA and human evolution, was called in to examine the frozen remains of a man trapped in the glacial ice in northern Italy. News of both the Iceman's discovery and his age, which was also put at 5,000 years, fascinated scientists and newspapers throughout the world. But what made Sky's story particularly revelation was his successful identification of the genetic descendants of the Iceman. Interesting. Mia. Song in the Air. The Odds, Kathleen George. The homicide world is upside down. Richard Christie is in the hospital. Artie Dolan is headed away on vacation. John Potlock's life is falling apart, and Colleen Greer is so worried about her boss's mental health she can hardly think. A young boy in Pittsburgh North Side neighborhood dies of suspicious overdose. The narcotics police are working on tips, and they draft Colleen and Potluck to help them. In the same neighborhood, 4 young kids have been abandoned and are living on their own. The Odds. Shifting Sands. Annie's family hope that the safari holiday in South Africa will help her to get over her beloved husband's death and come to terms with widowhood. No one is more surprised than Annie herself when she finds herself strongly attracted to a fellow member of the group, Lewis Masters, and her desperate initial resistance, she is drawn into a new relationship. Carola Dunn, Manna from Hades. He's a widow living in Port Maben, a small fishing village in Cornwall, England. Until her husband died, she worked with him in many exotic parts of the world. Now retired, she volunteers at a local charity shop that occupies the first floor of a cottage. Eleanor's niece, Megan, is recently promoted to detective sergeant with the North Cornish Police. Her boss, D.I. Scumble, doesn't approve of women on the police force and strongly disapproves of Megan's Aunt Eleanor, who admittedly becomes a thorn in his side. After a day of collecting donations in the countryside, Eleanor discovers the dead body of a long-haired, scuffy youth in the stockroom of the charity shop. So they gotta find out who killed. Havana Requiem. Fueled by alcohol and legal brilliance, Michael Seeley once oversaw his law firm's most successful litigation, until it all fell apart. Recklessness and overreach cost him his wife, his job, and likely the last of his client. Riot Most Uncouth, Lord Byron, Daniel Friedman. Young woman is murdered in a boarding house and no one knows what to do about it. The volunteer watchman who patrols the streets of this placid college town has no idea how to investigate a serious crime. What Cambridge needs is a hero. 19-year-old Lord Byron, the outlaw poet, is a student at Trinity College, and though he could describe a student in the lowliest sense of the word, he rarely attends class and instead spends his time day drinking, making love to faulty wives, and feeding cuisine. Catching a killer. Okay. Hugh Dutton supposed to die. The smart one, Jennifer Close. Night Shadow, Sebastian Castel. Trista is a nation overcome by corruption. The idealist young King Pallas is dead, and the great coat's legendary traveling magistrates who brought justice to the kingdom have been branded as traitors. But just before his head was impaled on a stake, the king charged each of his 140 greatcoats with a different mission. Big buck. We're just going to go through these quick, because there is still a lot of them here. Okay. A Passable Life. Arc Storm. Bruce DeSalver. A Source of Vipers. A Story of God and All of Us, an epic novel based on the Bible. The Guts. Roddy Doyle. A Small Fortune. The presumed patriarch of his large family, both in England, where he's made his home, and Pakistan, where he raised, unexpectedly receives a small fortune after his divorce from an English woman. It unsettles him. £53,000 is a lot of money, and as devout Muslim, Harris vows his staggering sum as a burden of riches. All he can think upon receiving it is how to best divest himself of it. Help others. Book of Numbers. Bond Girl. When other little girls were dreaming about becoming doctors or lawyers, Alex Garrett was setting her sights on conquering the high-powered world of Wall Street. A Killer Ambition, a Rachel Knight novel by Marcia Clarks. 3 Stages of Amazement. Souls of Angels, Thomas Edison. The Big Love. Alicia Clifford. The Affair. Eve. Templar 1. It's military. That is the end of those box. That was a huge, huge, huge box. I hope you enjoyed it. I knew some of these authors, but most of them I didn't know. I hope you have a good day.